Oh man.
Amazing. Okay, here we go. It's gonna work because now I have the 3 little dots. I'm going live on Facebook. Here we go. Okay, amazing.
And am I muting here or muting there?
You're gonna mute here.
Okay.
Okay, great. Not on my timeline. Sharing in a group. Oh my God, yes. Okay, I'm gonna mute myself here. Let's see. It says we're live, but we look very frozen. Okay, here we go. And then push the little play button. All right, I think we're live, you guys. I see, is it just maybe the 2 of us or 2 of you in with us? Can you guys let us know in the chat that you're here, that again, we're not alone, that it's working this time correctly. We figured out Zoom streaming to Facebook. So let's see. And you know what? I'm just gonna do one thing. Okay, amazing. Good morning, Kelsey, Christian, Adina. Yes, we did it. Magnificent, absolutely magnificent. Okay, so welcome to Chill Talks. I mean, it's called Chill Talks because it is super chill. Normally it's not this much of a fumbling at the start, but technology did a little update on me yesterday, even after we tested it, and now it's good. We got it sorted. So I'm here with the absolute lovely Marika from Marika Creative, and she is a commercial photographer. And that's just like scratching the surface really of what she does and who she is and what she contributes to the industry. And we're going to talk a little bit about that. And she's also the founder of Creativity Built, which is a community that supports commercial photographers. So welcome everybody. And we're going to be talking about Marika's entrepreneurial journey, but we want to know in the comments, we want to know how you relate, if you have anything you want to contribute, if you have questions, we want you to be part of the conversation instead of just like hanging out and listening to us, and mostly me just ramble. So tell us, Marika, how did you even get started in commercial photography?
Oh man, well, first off, I'm excited to be here. Thank you for having me, and I'm excited to see everyone in the chat and can't wait to get to know you guys better too. But let's see. So I've been shooting professionally for a decade now. I started out kind of just as a hobbyist photographer. I think like most photographers do, right? I traveled a lot with my family growing up because of my dad's job. And so I had like a point and shoot camera to, document those travels. But I had always seen myself doing a career that was, like something more aligned with like being a lawyer, which is something I really wanted to be and was seriously considering before heading off to college. I wanted to be a journalist. I wanted to be an archaeologist for a little bit. But I also had like other creative passions. I love to paint and draw and sing and make music. And, so I had a lot of passions, a lot of things that I loved. And photography was just kind of one of those things. And then around the time that Instagram launched, which was 2007, 2006, something like that. My whole world kind of opened up a little bit because I was like, oh, like photos are more than just, things you snap with a camera to put in a photo album or in a frame on the wall. You can actually share images essentially with the world now, right? And maybe I wasn't able to articulate it in that way then, but I was inspired to create more. So I ended up saving up, buying my first amateur DSLR camera, and I just started shooting everything. And then people started asking me to do thing. So I shot my first wedding when I was 16.
So you did shoot a wedding. I see. This
I've
is
shot
one of my
many
questions.
weddings.
Okay,
Yeah.
so this is what I want to know. Okay, so you started
Yes.
shooting people, weddings. That's like the boot camp of the
Yep.
industry. A lot of people started in weddings.
Yes,
Yeah.
I've shot many weddings, and I'll still shoot a wedding if a friend asks now. But I was averaging like a wedding a year for a while, and now I haven't done a wedding in a couple years now, but they're fun. I love them. But yeah, I literally started shooting weddings, portraits, families. My first paid gig was portraits for a friend who wanted to send photos to her boyfriend in the military, and they're married now, which is super sweet. So like that was like, you know, stuff like that. So anyway, I was doing all of this work, and then ended up choosing, or kind of feeling this like calling that I was not going to be a lawyer, that somehow photography was supposed to be the path for me. And that was kind of uncomfortable, because I'm like, okay, well, like, I know I can work and I know I can make money doing this because I already am, but like, I didn't want to be a wedding photographer full time. I didn't want to do portraits, and I just didn't see a box that I fit into. So I went to art school, which was interesting. And I did 4 years in this fine art program. I did not fit in that program at all. So while I wasn't doing school, I worked full time in pretty much any photo gig that I could get my hands on. I assisted luxury wedding photographers. I shot fashion shows, events. Like, I mean, I'm in the LA area, so I was kind of just like doing everything. A lot of work for free, a lot of work paid, just like constantly shooting with my camera. And then my junior year of college, sorry, this is a long story.
No, it's great. I have so many questions. Keep going.
We're almost to the end. My junior year of college, I got an internship working as a content creator for a software company, actually, a small boutique software company that created software for professionals in event rentals. So like, while the software company's business wasn't like sexy and creative, their clients were. And so they were a small team. And this was literally like the year Instagram was like, we're not just a photo sharing app, we're a marketing app, right? And like the influencer boom was happening, and like things were really shifting. And so this company wanted me to conceptualize, develop, direct, execute, and deliver on creative briefs that would drive the revenue forward and in their business and connect with their ideal customers. And so my boss was amazing. She taught me how to budget for projects, construct briefs, source props, like really style everything. I mean, she was like leaning over me with a ruler, like making sure things were like lined up and flat laid so that nothing was out of place. Like, it was meticulous. It was hard work. You know, hours and hours, like bent over on the floor, like moving things around and shooting stuff. But like, I learned so much through that experience. And I realized that there weren't a lot of other creatives out there creating like custom stock, which was what I called it at the time. And I literally finished that internship and like hit the ground running, like, you know, basically selling myself as a, you know, a brand photographer essentially. And that kind of spiraled into, you know, founding Marika Creative, starting an agency, and doing commercial work.
Okay, I have so many questions.
Yes, let's go.
I loved that you let us know that you did weddings as well. So anyone that's watching, and I feel like, Christian, I don't know if you've ever done weddings. I know you're a full-time commercial photographer. Adina, I know you are a full-time wedding photographer, and I know you even did some commercial work. She's been published in a magazine. And if you're watching, I want to know, are you a commercial photographer? How do you identify as a commercial photographer? Like, do you identify as a brand photographer or something else? You can let us know. And I want to know if it's full-time. And I want to know if that's how you started. Because I feel like I haven't met very many commercial photographers that haven't done a wedding.
I can't think of any that I know of personally.
So Christian said he started out in weddings as well. Yeah, I feel like that's such an easy entry, because people they like you, they like your work. And so Now, in your definition, Marika, do you call yourself a commercial photographer or a brand photographer, or what? How do you identify?
It depends on the day. I don't usually call myself a photographer anymore because it doesn't really, like if someone asks me what I do, I tell them that I run a creative agency and that we do creative direction, production, photo, and video. Like I have the whole spiel kind of locked down, but I think on LinkedIn, I say like I'm a creative director, photographer, so people know that we do photo, and then like CEO.
Because I feel like there's so much like an ambiguousness about commercial photography. Like, what does that mean? What is the difference between commercial photography and brand photography? And Beth here. So Beth also, I met her through Camp Du Mars. She's a really cool boudoir photographer. Her work is amazing. And she calls herself also a small business photographer, but she started off in photojournalism over weddings. I did not know that. And so cool. Adina says she started as a commercial fashion and product photographer, but she prefers weddings. Okay, so she started off in the commercial. So that's, and Beth said she actually started as a graphic designer. This makes sense. This is like you crack that door open and it's just, there's so much. So let me know, tell me the difference. Commercial photography, brand photography, creative director, just break it down for me a little bit.
Yeah, I think it depends on what you want to call yourself, right? But I do think like there are some distinctions. So I'd say like brand photography in my mind and in what I've seen in the industry really breaks down to like this small business photographer kind of definition, you know, like these maybe more boutique brands, maybe they're doing like around $1 million a year, 1 to 3 million a year, or something like that, right? Like they have, you know, they know that they need photography to grow their brand, but they don't have like 30 to 200K budgets, right? Like and I think that brand photographer lingo kind of fits into that space. I've also seen people call themselves brand photographers when they're working with like personal brands and like influencers or bloggers or solopreneurs, or like, you know, working with experts, so like experts that run, you know, one person expert businesses kind of things, like doctors or like personalities on the internet. So I would put brand photographers in that bucket. I'd say commercial photographers are doing like more high-end luxury photography services that require them to almost either hire a creative director or be the creative director as well. Because I think you have to be the creative director in a way when you're doing the small business stuff, because that brand or that person is not going to hire, you know, a team of people necessarily to do the work. You are
the team.
To afford it, right? You have to be the team, but you're not doing the work on such a high level where it's like overwhelming and it's too much. Like it just makes sense, and it's out of the goodness of your heart that you're telling this small business what they need to be successful, right? But then when you move into commercial photography, like there's just, I think there's higher expectations. There's another level of just like service and experience and expertise you need to bring to the table. And you almost have to show that you're a marketer, right? And I'm kind of bundling commercial photographer and creative director in like this same kind of bucket, because they can be separate, but they can also be the same, which in my case they are. I do both. Right. But you have to be like, you have to be a marketer. You have to understand trends online. You have to understand paid and digital media and earned media. You have to understand organic social, because you need to create high-end content that's going to convert your audience into paying customers. So and just, you know, the next step.
Sorry, I'm getting way too excited, and I'm really I start interrupting because I'm just like getting super into it.
No, you're good. I stopped and then I kept going. So you're good.
What I want to know then, would you recommend for photographers in our group or photographers out there to really know how to define themselves then? Because if you put yourself out there as a commercial photographer, like how you're marketing yourself, is that really the service that you're offering? Because it does sound like brand photography and commercial photography are a bit different than like who your client is. So if you're working with small businesses or individuals, you want to call yourself a brand photographer and market yourself that way.
I mean, I guess, yeah. I think it kind of happens naturally for you. I'm not a huge, like, labels are tough, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's tricky, and it's a tricky thing because I could argue that the work you do as a brand photographer could qualify you to be a commercial photographer or creative director, right? Like, you're kind of doing a lot of the same work. It's just at different tiers with the type of business you're working with, right? And there are certain stigmas maybe associated with both names, good and bad. But I don't know if I would say you have to pick a lane, but I think, you really have to know like who you're targeting and what they want to hear from you, right? And what they would respond to.
And what they're searching. Because
Exactly.
if you're marketing yourself, what are your clients? Are they searching? Like if I'm an individual looking for photography for myself, for my small company, would I be searching commercial photographer or would I be searching
you probably searching personal brand photography?
Yeah, probably. Yeah. Lifestyle brand or lifestyle and branding photography.
Yeah, lifestyle photographer is another one that like kind of can fit into this bucket, but I feel like the words change a lot and can mean different things in different contexts. But yeah, exactly. You have to know what your customer is searching for. Like my customers are searching for creative agencies. I resisted the word agency for years. I hated it because I don't like the way agencies operate. And I think that the way that, the industry is just absolute, it's awful. So I was like, I don't want to succumb to how the world works. I want to change it. But, you have to make compromises along the way. And so we use the word agency to get people into our sphere. And then we kind of trick them into realizing that the way things were aren't the way they could be. And there's so much more that's possible for them,
So if you were to say, tell me again, you said it so perfectly, like your caption of like, this is who I am. This is what I do. Tell it to me again.
I tell people that I run a creative agency and we specialize in creative direction, production, photo, and video for brands.
See, nailed it. That's so clear. It tells me exactly what you do. And I feel like there's lots of value. So I'm just going back. Adina says that she feels like commercial photographers have to know both print and web. They have to know how to market, advertise, and they have to understand the audience for the businesses they're working for.
I agree.
Yeah. That's a lot. That's a lot to know. It's next level. I mean, as a wedding photographer, I would roll in and be like, yes, everyone looks amazing. Let's do this.
Right.
But as a commercial photographer or brand photographer, like you do like the intention and the styling and like the lighting, how you use like the one, I forget the brand name. I should pull it up for us, but I think it was vitamins or like supplements. And it was like a cup, a glass, and a hand reaching
parallel,
Yes. And then the light was coming in this, like, that's a whole other way to see products and like even to see products in an artistic and creative way. So, and I'm totally getting ahead of myself, but let me know in the chat again, like, how is it that you identify? Are you a brand photographer? Are you a commercial photographer? Do you feel like you need to be really clear in your marketing, or do you feel like it's interchangeable? I'm really curious to see what your guys' opinion is on that. So when you are doing commercial photography, brand photography, what is your process with your clients? Like they come to the door, you tell them like, this is what I do. Then what?
Okay, so we hop on a call. Usually, like sometimes I'll hop on a call with a brand like just to get to know them, and then maybe a project will come out of that. But usually like in that scenario, like someone's coming to me maybe with a specific project in mind or looking for a specific kind of longer term partnership with someone. And so like, we spend some time getting to know each other. We talk about what their needs are as a business. I ask questions like, what's your annual revenue? How much money do you put aside for your marketing budget every quarter? What are your marketing, sales, and business goals for 2021? I want to know the business, not just like, what kind of photos do you want? Because the business goals can sometimes actually vary from what they say they want on paper for this creative vision. Like we had a client in June that we did a 2-day project for that, like leading up to this for 2 months, we're like working on creative direction. We're working on the vision. Right. And then you know, what they were saying they wanted to be, what it just wasn't clicking, it wasn't translating. And I was like, I really think that like this other thing that, you know, we haven't explored yet is really what you're saying that you want and what you need, and like this is what it could look like. But we gave them both. So we did one day kind of what they said they wanted, and we did one day dedicated to what we thought they needed. When all was said and done, they were like, those day one photos are a wash, we love day two, and that's exactly what we're looking for. You know what I mean? So like it's a getting in the mind of in the brain of the customer, and like trying to understand how to communicate what they're trying to actually do, because photos are photos. Like anyone can take photos, and I believe that, and I know that might be controversial, but anyone can take a picture. Okay, we're all photographers if you have a phone. I hate it, but it's true. Like, you know, it's like, how do you get in the mind of your customer and deliver on what they want? And ultimately people want to make more money, right? How do you make more money? You get more customers, you get in front of the right people, you earn their trust, right? And you find strategies to grow. And that's how we work. And we use photos and videos as a tool to do that. So long story short, you know, they inquire, we get to know them. We take them through a process where we have like Google Sheets and Mila Note and Slack and Pinterest. We use like all of these different tools to like communicate with them on a regular basis, basically make it possible for them to really only have to say yes or no to things, right? Like we want to take all the work off their plate from everything, from casting, props, styling, wardrobe, like we do it all from start to finish. And then we execute on the content, and then we deliver it, and hopefully they're happy.
So like the photography is probably the smallest, shortest component of all of that.
Photography is like nothing. It's like because all the work we do up until that point gets us to knowing exactly how to spend our time on set. We're not dilly-dallying, we're not wasting time. You know, we know what we want, and we can get it done very quickly. Clients are always impressed. They're like, oh, we finished earlier than we thought we would. It's like, yeah, like, because we did what we said we were going to do, and we even had time to play, and now we're done. There's nothing else to do today. So like, we're good, you know?
So much pre-planning. Like, do you like mood board out your shots and like, or do you like show up, you're like, I have an idea of a vision I want. Like I'm using the supplement company again. And tell me their name again one more time.
Parallel.
Yeah,
Parallel.
Parallel. Okay, Parallel. I'm going to blame it on pregnancy.
No, you're good. It's also Zoom and whatever. Please.
She's so good. She's so nice to me, you guys. But so like, I'm actually obsessed with that kind of lighting, because I wish I could shoot that way, and I just can't. Like anytime I've tried to shoot with like hard light and the shadows, but it's not like super hard, but it's just poppy and contrasty. Like, do you have that in mind already? Like that kind of style? Because even the one that we posted in our group with the flower, like that has like beautiful, like sharp light on it without like being, you know, super like high clarity or choppy, you know, but it's like just so sharp versus like a natural light, like the one holding up the rosé that you did, the bag of rosé. Like, is that natural light, or are you using artificial
all of that? So I actually want to see the other photos that I sent you, because I'm pretty sure almost all of them are in fact natural light, which is actually hilarious.
No.
We shoot, I do shoot with strobes, and more often than not, I always have like some sort of fill light or something with me. But that parallel shoot was very interesting, and I'm happy to talk about that for a minute, because I'm really proud of that work. And actually, I sent you 3 photos from that shoot.
Okay, so what I'm going to do, I'm actually going to open up the group here, and I'm going to share it on my screen so everyone can see exactly what we're talking about. So I'm just waiting for that to open.
Cool.
Okay, so I'm scrolling down. There it is. Okay, so I'm going to share my screen so everyone can see what we are chatting about. Okay, can you see the Facebook group?
Yes.
Excellent. So this is the photo here. So this is natural light?
That's the sun. We shot this beautiful LA big windowed amazing home, and Oh my God, we were so lucky this day because I was prepared to do all of this with a strobe, but it had been raining. It doesn't rain here very often, okay? But it had been raining and gray for like 2 weeks straight. I'm like begging God on my drive to this location, like, please bring the sun. And he blessed us, thank goodness. And we had beautiful sunlight streaming through. So like in these photos, we just pulled up, literally this is a kids coloring table. We pulled it up to the window, threw some fabric on it, and just played around with the sun.
Holy fuck. See, I look at that and I'm like, how? Like, how did you set it up? How is it so soft? But like, obviously, yeah, amazing.
It was just like time of day too, you know, I think we shot these around like maybe 3 or 4 in the afternoon. So it was like a little bit softer, you know?
Yeah, it's so good. And then of course, because everyone always wants to know, even though like, and every photographer I talk to, like, don't ask me what kind of gear I use. So like, it's not about the gear, but sure. I'm still going to ask, because I know people are still going to wonder, what gear are you using generally and what lens did you use here?
I use, I use Sony cameras. I use Sigma or Sony lenses, and my lighting is Godox. I think here I was on a Sony A7R3 and either a 35 from Sigma or a 55 from Sigma. I think this was a 30 because it might have been the 50. I don't remember, but I rarely ever go outside of the 30 or 50. Sometimes I'll use a 90 from Sony that I love. And I think one of the shots I sent you is with a 90, and you can probably tell that flower shot.
This is the same. This is for parallel as well.
This is from a different shoot.
Different shoot. This is with the 90 though.
That's with the 90, yeah.
Yeah.
The other two from the parallel shoot are this one.
Amazing.
This had this was a strobe. I was lighting this with a strobe. And then the last one from parallel, keep going, is this one.
Oh, this one?
11. Mm-hmm.
And this is the 35.
Oh, not the food one.
The lemon. The lemon, yeah. This is such a cool one. I love this. Would be a really great print just on a wall.
I know. I want to do that. I should ask them if they're okay with that.
You should, and then send it to your friend Stacy.
Yes.
I'll put it in my office. So this one, so for this lighting, you have a strobe, and is it straight on? Do you only have one strobe, or do you have multiple strobes?
For this shoot, so I'm like really lean with my lighting kit because I don't think you need all of that for everything. So this is like one strobe bounced off the ceiling.
Get out. It's so soft and like perfectly, it looks like natural light.
Totally.
So go ahead.
Strobe, like kind of not like straight off the ceiling, but kind of like at an angle, I find creates like, because almost like if you had that strobe at an angle pointing down, you can get that sunlit like vibe, versus the other way pointing kind of up and out, you get that diffused natural light kind of vibe, which is kind of fun. So
then I'm going to stop screen sharing so we can see the chat. So when it comes to your style for shooting, now this is a question I get quite frequently by commercial photographers, and I'm not a commercial photographer, so I have an opinion, but coming from a different place.
Yes.
So I want to hear your opinion. So as a commercial photographer, when you're shooting for a client, do you have a certain style that you're known for, or is your style flex for the client? Like how you light your products, your people, your editing, is it grainy? Is it sharp, glossy? Like, does that flex per client, or do they know you as your work?
It has to flex per client. And I find, like, I think people, like that photo of the, like the rosé bag, like up in the air for that feature, that was like, for that client, we have we created a preset for them. So like they have a very specific color palette, a very specific look. So like, we always ask clients, like, what do they want? Like Parallel loves that like grainy, filmy, kind of soft, sultry energy because of like what they're doing. But like if you flip through a few of the other photos on this feed, like they look similar, like you can tell, I think that it's me who's done it, but like it all has different, like something different about it because of like the nature of the client. So like, you know, Skinny Dipped, the yoga pose photo, like they really wanted like a little bit of grain, really bright colors though, like poppy, fun, like kind of clean but grainy. Like I get a lot of requests right now for like clean and bright but also grainy, you know.
That's what I that's 100% what I'm feeling these days too, like personal preference.
So
like
I
a little bit of grain.
Like I love, like I lean more towards like the grain personally right now. But I don't know, like I'm trying to think of like any photos that I edit. Like I always edit photos true to color as best as possible while still giving them that kind of commercial wash, if that makes sense. And then if like a client wants more grain or less grain, that's one thing. I don't get a lot of requests though for like things that aren't true to color. Like people normally like their whites to be white and their color to be true, especially when you're working with product. You know, everything has to be true to color. But that doesn't mean you can't add a little bit of an edge to it. But yeah, I don't even know what like my personal photo style is anymore, to be honest with you.
I find that so fascinating because with other types of genres, it is so like, this is your look. People are hiring you for this style and like you have to edit this way. And I've had some budding commercial photographers ask me that question, and I say it should be based on what your client wants because the photos aren't for you, they're for your client.
Well, you know what's really interesting is, so I don't think it's always the editing style. It's your eye. It's like how you see the world that like matters. You know, I think in the commercial industry, like I'll use Parallel as an example again because they're like my golden client. Like I just adore them, and they've been so good to me. But like, you know, when we did our first project together, like I was really surprised that they hired me because like their founders are very well connected in LA. They used to work for like Vogue and Who What Wear. Like they know anybody who's anybody. Like they didn't need to hire me. You know what I mean? And when we were talking, I said that to them. I'm like, I'm like really honored that you like had even like wanted to work with me. And they were like, you know, when you're in like this small kind of circle in LA, like everyone's work looks the same. Like you have a fresh take on how to shoot product, how you see the world. Like we want content that doesn't look like everybody else's.
Yes. Okay. So I call that hashtag fuck yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So exactly.
Yeah.
And so I was like, so that was like so validating to hear. And because I think, you know, I think we could talk about this all day. Like, you know, the competition and the like need to feel like everyone else, and you see other people's work and you don't feel good enough, or you compare yourself, and it's like, you know, I'm usually good about filtering those thoughts out, but we're only human. There's only so much you can do some days when you have your period or you feel like crap or you just like, you know, are
pregnant for 9 months.
Exactly. Right? Like, you know, not every day is going to be a day where you're strong. And so like to know that there are people that see value in the way that you see the world and what you bring to the table is just awesome.
That is absolutely fantastic and fantastic advice. It kind of leads me into my next question, but I just want to drop into the comments here. Beth says, are there types of images that you wouldn't shoot, or do you shoot all products, i.e. food and fashion and products and personal branding, etc.?
Oh, yes. Well, okay. So some people I know are super niche. Like I have a friend who's a health and wellness photographer, right? I have never been that kind of person because, as I shared earlier, I've always been multi-passionate. I've always done things. I've done art and music and lawyering and archaeology. Like I've always wanted to be all the things. However, I don't believe that you should be a jack of all trades. Like I think there needs to be a balance somewhere. So no, I don't shoot all types of products, but we do shoot we shoot several buckets of products. They kind of all fall under though like a lifestyle consumer brand, which I know is kind of vague, but like, you know, we shoot food and beverage, we shoot health and wellness, beauty. And then we have some fashion companies, but they're kind of more on like the tech side. So it's a little bit more like tech and services, if that makes sense. So like, it's kind of like those buckets. I mean, we have a couple jewelry clients that we love. Like, you know, there's like a little bit, I don't want to say there's a little bit of everything, but it's kind of like, I'd say food and beverage, health and wellness, beauty and fashion, and then like a couple like tech services clients that like pay really good money and they pay the bills. So
you're like, so yes.
Yeah, exactly.
So yes, come on over.
Yeah.
I'm going to ask you this question, and I want to ask our people in our chat here too. What did you struggle with the most getting started in commercial photography? So it sounded like you had like your great internship, you learned a lot from that one job, but so after that you went off into the world. Like, what is something that maybe you weren't expecting to struggle with, or you were expecting and you did struggle? I want to know what that was. And then for anyone that's listening, I want to know what that is for you currently. And so when we're talking about commercial photography, what are you struggling with if you're getting into it, or you've been in it a while? What is the main thing you struggle with?
To be honest with you, I've always been like someone who's optimistic, kind of will do anything, overcome everything. Like up until last year, I was never one of those entrepreneurs that was like, I want to have a full-time job and I hate this and it sucks and I want to quit. Like I was never that kind of person. Yeah. And then the pandemic happened and I'm like, I want to quit. This sucks. Like, why am I doing this?
It's fucking hard.
It's hard. And so I think I was surprised by that, because I was surprised at myself for like thinking it was too hard, or I don't really know, but I actually have found that like the challenges I have been facing more recently, which is something you and I were talking about before, is like my business is kind of in no man's land right now. Like it's kind of like, you know, we're not working with teeny tiny brands anymore, but we're not working with like, you know, the biggest brands in the world. Like, you know, we're kind of in this like weird medium space where like 5K is not enough for me and my team to do a project, because it doesn't even pay for my team to do the project, right? But like, you know, we're not really like at the place where we're hitting those like 200K projects. So like, we're kind of in this like, not that we want to either, because not every project's worth that much, and that's something else we could talk about. But like, you know, there's like this weird middle space right now where like I've been surprised at how not easy it's been to like get through the no man's land, because I think we're really transitioning. It's been a long transition, but like I'm not just the girl with the camera anymore. Like I have a team, I have you guys, right? We're creative directors, producers, photo and video. Like we're doing full scope work now, and we're marketing it that way versus just like me pretending that like I can do it all by myself, which I was doing for a long time.
Which is crazy pants.
I can't do it anymore. Like I had someone say to me last week, well, like, would it be cheaper if you just came by yourself? And I'm like, no, like it'd be more expensive because it's so freaking hard.
That's such a good answer. Yeah.
Right. So it's like, that's something I'm struggling with currently. And I've been surprised at that. Like I thought that like, you know, I think I thought this entrepreneurial thing was going to be easier than it actually is. But the thing is, it's like, I don't feel like I have another option either. Like I have to make it work, you know? And so like, because I've always felt like I have to make it work, I always thought that I would just be able to figure it out and make it happen, and it wouldn't be that hard. And I know it's naive and it's stupid, and I'm realizing that, but like,
it's just admirable, and it's energy, and it's like determination, ambition, and why the fuck not?
Yeah. And like you said before, it's like, you know, you're not just shooting. It's like, you have to know all of these things and be on top of all of these things, and like communicate to your clients that they can trust you and that you can deliver on all of these. Like, it's just a lot of moving pieces, which is fine. But it's like, when you're trying to level up to work with like the next tier of client, right? Like that next level, and get that next level of money or that next level of trust. It's just like, sometimes it feels like you're climbing a ladder that's like, someone's holding it and they just keep letting more rope down and you just keep struggling to get up, but you keep going further and further backwards, if that makes sense.
100. I feel like a lot of people feel this way because it's been, especially with photography and the genre that we're talking about, so much of it is networking, and people, like, COVID did put a lot of things virtual and online, and you made connections where you wouldn't make connections otherwise, but nothing trumps in-person networking, meeting someone face to face, getting to know them, taking them for a coffee, like we haven't been able to do that. And I feel like that's a big part of the struggle when it comes to growing your business, because we can talk about it and we can let people in on a couple of our techniques and things that help us with networking virtually and online. But yeah, people, like, it is different meeting someone face to face than it is someone sliding into your DMs. Or sending you an email. You're like, I can get a gazillion emails a day. What's going to set you apart? There are things, we'll talk about that, give some people some tips, but I think that for sure is a large challenge. So Christian has his answer here. And I know, Christian, and you can correct me, but the work that I've seen of yours, a lot of like outdoor adventure vehicles. He did this really cool motorcycle shoot with my partner, actually, which was so fucking, he looked so hot. Thank you. I appreciate this. But he says, like Marika, I shot a ton of client work and lost a feeling for what my own personal style was. And that led to kind of a lack of meaning in my work. I've been working to overcome that and get back in touch with my own style by shooting a lot of personal projects, and have been finding so much value in that.
That's really awesome. I went to art school and I was very disenchanted with art. I do not call myself an artist. I don't do personal projects. If I do a personal project, I'm painting or collaging or playing the piano. Like it's very hard for me to pick up my camera for fun these days. And it's not because I don't enjoy my camera. Like, I love what I do, but I don't know. It's like, I don't know if I want to find my own personal style again. Like, I'm happy to just do it for work.
I think there's nothing wrong with that. So I've been shooting professionally for 8 years, and I just went on a little camping trip with my partner, and he's like, bring the camera, we'll take some photos. I'm like, no. I love it. Like, I still love my photography, but I need to have like another creative outlet or something else.
And I feel like I need like a scenario that inspires me to want to bring my camera. Cause like with my projects, like, I'm fortunate that I get to shoot projects that I'm conceptualizing and directing. So like, I'm excited to shoot them, but like in life, I'm like, I have my phone. Like, if I want to take photos, I can have my phone. Or what I've been doing is I've been using like disposable cameras or like an old like Olympus film camera. Because then I don't have to edit anything, and I don't have to like import it on my computer. And then, because the after stuff feels like more work, and I'm not motivated to do that. So the film's been nice because I can just give it to my lab and they'll send it to me, and it's great.
I am totally with you on that. We did a film photography conference with Conference and Chill, and that was probably one of my favorite. Boudoir actually was probably the most fun though, because it was like pretty rambunctious. It was awesome, but the film one is definitely for me too. Like, creatively, I would rather be shooting film and like old gear and something unique and like imperfect.
Totally.
Yeah, I'm super into that too. So Adina says, I think when I was doing commercial photography, I felt unappreciated in my work. I felt unappreciated and my work was so criticized. I've been seeing size 2 models. Sorry, I'm like totally butchering your lovely message, Adina. So she says, I've seen size 2 models be brought to tears because of what was said to them by others. I personally like the freedom of owning my own business and being able to just edit photos and give what I know is good, rather than what someone who doesn't understand photography thinks I should shoot. I call them the armchair quarterbacks.
So this is why, like, I started my business, because like, I agree, like, the commercial photography industry is screwed up. Like, clients are wacky, the expectations are ridiculous. They're obscene. Like, the way people talk to each other and the way people treat one another is, it makes me fume with anger inside. And it's not the way it should be. Like, it's not the way it should be at all. Like, especially in this world where like content is so accessible and like, people are making more and new connections daily. Their reach is so broad. There's so much opportunity for trust and joy and beauty and like love and just like wonderful things, right? That photography can do and that visual experiences can bring into people's lives. Like, that's what the industry should be like. It shouldn't be this, judgy, angered, ridiculously priced, crazy, taboo, secretive thing, right? And so like we talk to our clients very transparently about this. Like, we call ourselves a challenger agency because we're challenging the industry. Like, we're finding ways. Good. Yeah, it's on my blog. You can read. I wrote an article about it, and I read an amazing book a few months ago called The Challenger Sale, which was written right after the 2008 financial crisis, talking about, how businesses pivoted in their sales strategies to basically like human, soul-driven, personal connection-driven relationships to, build their businesses essentially, right? And how like, you couldn't just like go into situations, you couldn't go in with a cold heart in the same way. And I think we're kind of going through this again now after the pandemic, right? But like, no, the industry's flawed and we're trying to fix it.
I think I'm going to share that blog in the group later, because I think this is going to be a really great read. I love that. That's like that. Just the terminology is fantastic. Brittany says, "I'm just tuning in now, loving this conversation already. Amen to all of that, Marika." And lots of exclamation marks. Yes. So I honestly have so many questions, and we've already been going just over an hour. I mean, maybe like 45 with all my tech issues. Are you still okay for like another 15 minutes or so? Okay, amazing. Maybe longer, we'll see. But so I have some questions for Marika, but if you're hanging out with us, now is your chance to ask her questions as well. And if you really want, if you're not too shy, I will drop you the Zoom link, and you can come and hang out with us on this side, and we can have some face-to-face conversations. So if you have something you want to ask or contribute or share, now is the time. Either do it in the comments or put in the comments like, hey, I'll come live with you guys and I'll drop the link. So I have like two big ones. One is anyone that's starting in commercial photography, what would you tell them? You're like, if I could just tell you this, I really want you to know this going into it, or watch for this, or plan for that. And something maybe you would have told yourself looking back.
So I think I would say, this is like my own personal mantra in a way, but I think this applies to whatever industry you're in, of like, listen to your life and look at the clues. Because I think when you're just getting started in this industry, like, that can mean like, what are people coming to you for? What are they asking you to do for them? What are you drawn to personally as a human, right? Like, what are things that you love to use, or what gets you excited about life? Like, kind of look at those clues, because I think those clues can inform like what brands you'll reach out to, or what kind of product or, scenes you'll shoot, or like, I don't know. I think that that's a good place to start. And I also think with that, like, not being afraid to do the thing. And I know that's kind of cliche, but like, because the internet is so saturated with creatives, and like we said before, like, everyone has a camera, right? I think not being afraid to do it, and really believing that there's room for you and there's room for all of us. Like, I always tell this to people, like, this is not just something I say to myself, like I really believe there's room for all of us. I think that, you know, even if you and me, Stacey, even if we shot the exact same brands, the exact same scenarios, like the exact same, you know, styles and process and everything, we'd still produce completely different work because we're completely different people with completely different perspectives on life. We communicate differently, we think differently, we shoot differently. Like, so that doesn't mean that everyone's going to come to you or everyone's going to come to me. Like, we'll have our own people and our own clients because that's what we're attracting, right? So I think believing that, knowing that that's true, it gives you power, right? To not give up, to not, you know, compare yourself to everybody else, to believe that, you know, you're doing the thing and you should do the thing.
Oh, you're doing the thing and you should do the thing. I feel like that's a quote right there.
Totally.
This actually leads me into the next question. So if you truly believe that, and as a photographer, even like you personally, but also like you as in everyone out there, if we truly believe that, then the sharing of knowledge and information is more open, because you see that in wedding photography. It's in boudoir photography as well, not quite as much as weddings. Like weddings, like information everywhere. I think in the last year, and Beth, if you're still with us, I know you're quite involved in that industry as well, in the boudoir one. Let me know what you think. But I think especially in the last year, information has really exploded with boudoir. But commercial still feels like this, like secret. How do I, like, there's like random bits of information, but like you get just enough to know you don't have enough information.
Yeah, and it sucks. And it's not how it should be. You know, like I actually didn't realize how isolated and alone I was in the industry until I was sitting down with a friend last March, right as the pandemic was hitting. We were supposed to shoot together. He was in town from the Midwest. It got canceled. We're sitting having a cup of coffee and we're talking about how we acquire clients and how we price our services and how we market ourselves and what kind of processes we use. And we both kind of paused and we looked at each other and like, no, who else? Nobody's having these conversations. Like,
no.
We were both like, you know, we don't have, at that point, I did not have a single other friend who was in the commercial creative industry, not one. I had a lot of wedding photographer friends, a lot of designer friends, right? A lot of creative people in my life, but not a single other person doing commercial or brand work. And so, and really, he didn't have a ton of those people in his life either. So that's how Creativity Built was born. Like, we were like, let's create a space for people to come and we can have conversations. And that's what we did. And now, you know, we have a community of people, you know, globally, really, who want to have these conversations and are part of it. And, you know,
you share so much information, and I've linked it and we'll link it again, about Creativity Built. You give so much. You bring in guest speakers. You have some other things, I won't say what they are, but possible things coming down the pipe for Creativity Built. And it's such a resource. And there's like, I have not seen another community like it.
There is not one.
There is not one.
The only community out there that is like adding value, I think, in this way is called Freelancing Founders, or Freelance Founders. They're a Boston-based company. They're doing really well. They've got a lot of traction in the creative industry, but they're focusing on freelancers and like kind of all creative industries, whereas like we focus on, you know, basically commercial photographers who are trying to build real businesses and kind of step away from this like freelancing gig economy language. That's very limiting.
Ooh, that's a whole other conversation on its own. I feel like you just like sprinkled a little something in here. Christian says, totally, people are so guarded about commercial work and it ultimately hurts all of us and perpetuates race to the bottom that keeps eating away at budgets.
Absolutely. You know, I have people that still, well, more often than I would like lately, but not as often as it used to be. I have a lot of people that come asking for like, you know, thousands of dollars worth of work for $500 or $1,000. And I'm like, where are you getting these numbers? Like, it's not that like you know, because I know we kind of price on maybe like the more like high-end luxury end, but even
Also with a
realistically,
team, like is your like your cost.
well, exactly. When you're a team and all of this, it's like it's really not that high end and not that much. And for the value these brands get, I mean, I'm like, I shouldn't even have to justify this to you. Like, come on. But yeah, it's like it's a mess. It's a mess. And content is like so cheap in so many ways. Like it's kind of hard sometimes to be the one charging more, but you know, we kind of have to set the standard of like, okay, well, no, we're not doing like hundreds of thousands of dollar projects, but like if you're making like a few $1 million in revenue a year, you shouldn't be batting an eye at a 10K project. And then if you're a 30 million to a $70 million company a year, you shouldn't be batting an eye at a 20 to 30K project. Like, you know, some of these things, it's like it shouldn't be a negotiation. It should just be that it is what it is.
Do you think when a large client like that comes to you, do you think a part of them when they try and negotiate is testing that you're not going to negotiate? Like they're testing you to see like how strong are they in what they're offering? Because if they're confident and strong, then we are going to be confident and strong in them.
I've never felt like I've been tested necessarily in that way, but I'm a pretty strong, firm, level-headed person. So like someone tries to BS me, like I don't really handle that super well. I'm kind of like, you know, well, then go hire somebody else. I mean, like, you know, so I don't know, maybe, but.
Or like they're testing, but maybe they don't, maybe it's not even like a conscious thing, but I could see that even with weddings, I've had people I hadn't in the last couple of years, but even 3 years ago, I had someone trying to negotiate with me who by far, it was like the fanciest wedding I had ever photographed. Like they told me they were getting married at this little like shack on the lake. And the shack turned out to be a shack, like architecturally styled like a shack mansion on the lake. And I pull up in my crappy old Subaru surrounded by luxury vehicles.
That's amazing.
But they tried to negotiate with me. That was the only couple that year. And when I look back, I'm like, were they really trying to get a better rate or were they just testing me?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, because it depends. It's like, you know, I have, you know, a $70 million company that I work with that nickel and dimes me over headshots. I have a $30 million company that doesn't bat an eye at spending, you know, $200,000 on a 3-day campaign. And then I have a $1 million company that was willing to, like, wants to drop 20 to 30K a quarter for regular photo shoots. Like, it just, like, it doesn't sometimes matter the size. Sometimes it's just like, what are the priorities of the business? You know, what are their marketing budgets for the year? Like, you know, you have to kind of get in the room with the person who's like deciding where that money goes, because like ultimately, like, you know, if you can convince them to favor you, then you'll get more. But like, you know, for some brands, like, you know, those photos just aren't a priority, or like they just don't want to spend that kind of money. But for like this $1 million in revenue a year company, like, they need the content, like they need a team because they cannot do it. Like, and they are trying to be a successful D2C business and they need someone to help them. So they're willing to spend the money, you know?
So what would you say would help you? And I'm just seeing Adina's great comment here too. Dina, thank you for contributing so much. You have a lot of great points here, and Christian and Beth too, you guys. I super appreciate your involvement in this conversation. It really adds it to, really for everybody. And that's why we're doing it here in the Facebook group instead of Instagram now. But what are some tips? And then I think we should give some tips on networking. And I think we should give some tips on helping you stand out as a commercial photographer. So I love, like a little while ago, you said that people were approaching you wanting to work with you because you had a fresh look at how you see things, how you shoot. And how do you stand out that way? Like, is that something that's really knowing yourself as an artist on the artist side and your creative side? Or is that also the marketing and networking side? Like how you stand out?
I think it's both. I think that if you can believe that there's room for everyone, you shouldn't be creating work that looks like everyone else's. Like, even if you don't necessarily feel right now that you have like maybe your own style locked in, or you know exactly what you want to do. Like, I think, you do know, because your gut knows, like, you know, your soul knows, like when you pick up your camera and you take something, it's you taking it, right? And so I think just like allowing that to happen and not being like, not criticizing your own work too much, you know, not like overthinking a post before you share it, just like, you know, just taking photos and creating work and sharing it is how people are gonna start to find you. Like Parallel, again, an example, like so I have a friend who I'll do these like artist dates with, where we'll like find some products or we'll create some scenes, like, you know, once in a while we'll just like shoot for fun. She's a stylist and creative director, and I'm obviously shooting. So like, you know, we'll just do some fun stuff together, or like if she has some more like influencer stuff that comes her way too. So like sometimes we'll shoot like some brands for her or whatever. And like Parallel was a product that she had gotten as a gift, and we styled it just for fun, played around with it, shot outside in like natural light. I posted it on Instagram because I love their packaging and I love their brand. They saw it and they were like, we love your work, can we work with you? You know? So like, but I didn't like overthink that. I just like, I loved it, it was fun, whatever, and I posted it. So I guess in that respect, maybe I do shoot for fun sometimes, but usually trying to win work, you know, or thinking about the portfolio. But so yeah, and then I'd say like, in terms, you want to talk about networking?
Yeah, let's talk about networking. I'm just going to pop in here to Dina. And actually, Christian, I would love for you to come live. If you're wearing your pajamas, we don't care. I have some questions for you as well, because I know you've been doing commercial for a number of years. So if you want to come and chat with us, just let me know in the comments. And like I said, I'll drop the Zoom link. He says that's 100% my definition of personal work as well. Okay, so I'm going to bring in Christian here.
Awesome.
And then I'm going to go to Dina's question. So if I do copy invite link, okay, that's the link. And if it asks you for a meeting passcode, like it did for Marika this morning.
I know, that was so weird.
I love it. 6H5, I think that's it. DCY. All right. Okay. Excellent. Here he is. Okay, this is so much fun. This is what it's all about. Are we gonna guess? Is he in PJs or no? 50-50?
Wait, I'll get to the video. Oh God, we're good.
Hi, Kristen.
Yes, welcome.
Black t-shirt, it's a safe move.
It is a safe move. Good for you. But now, real pants or no pants?
My audio is all messed up, sorry.
Okay, that's probably good.
Okay, no, I got it. I was just playing in multiple places.
Oh yes, perfect. So make sure you mute the Facebook group.
Yeah.
Turn your audio down, and then we're here in Zoom. So I'm just really quick. I'm just going to go to Adina here. She says, I think you have to educate people. I think outside looking in, photographers think it's easy and super cool, but the truth is most companies really don't know the value or the scope of work. They just see the end product, so they don't want to pay for what you offer. Do you guys? Yeah. Do you guys find that as well?
Half of my job is telling people what they need and why they need it and how it works. It's not using the camera, it's telling people what they need to know.
And so Christian, tell our audience, and Marika. So Marika, meet Christian, Marika. Boop, boop. Tell us a little bit background on your story with commercial work.
Yeah, so same as Marika started, or did you start in weddings?
I do.
I've been editing a video sort of in the side, so yeah, started in weddings years ago, and then things turned into, you know, commercial work over the years, and was shooting everything and anything for years just to pay rent. And then I've been able to kind of niche down into more, it's like outdoor lifestyle is kind of my primary niche. A lot of like, you live in the States, but MEC for Canadian people, Lululemon, things like that. And yeah, now I'm trying to kind of pivot towards more like about the subject and about the subject's experience, and have a bit more storytelling and like connection from audience to subject. And yeah, that's kind of where I'm at right now.
Great.
That's real. I can definitely picture that. And I'm picturing like magazine articles and like the stories showcasing the product. We have a mutual friend, Angela Percival. She's a senior photographer for Arc'teryx, and she shoots very like documentary, definitely commercial shoots for like an outdoor adventure apparel company. And it is very much like that. It's very, very good. So for both of you then, like how do you network then with commercial photography? Because I feel like with weddings, it's so personal and you meet people and it's like a different like, personal level. But with commercial, you're approaching companies and you're approaching businesses. Like, how did you find that are some of the most successful ways that you've done networking? And then now in COVID, like, has your technique changed? And how have you I hate this word, but pivoted. I'm so tired of this word. I'm tired of saying COVID too.
Agreed.
So tell me what has worked for you in the past, what you've done in this last year and a half or so, and kind of like what you're thinking next when it comes to networking and growing your business.
You go ahead, Marika.
Okay. Let's see. Well, even if you're marketing B2B, as a business to a business, you're really still marketing Marika to the person in the business, right? Like it's still building a relationship and a connection with a real human being. Even if you're commenting on Instagram posts or DMing people, like there's always a human on the other end of the screen. So knowing that and remembering that's very important, because then you can that changes the way that you communicate and you send messages online. So like Instagram is one avenue where I always DM every new follower. I have a template that I cookie cutter use, whatever, but I always put I look for the person's name, even if it's a brand. Like I put the person's name and I say like, hi Stace, and then I have my spiel and I tell people that it's me, Marika, even though my page says we're an agency and that we do all these things. Like I'm like, it's me, Marika, That's a great way to start. LinkedIn is amazing. I think everyone should be on LinkedIn, including wedding photographers, because all those people on LinkedIn are humans that may or may not get married someday. Like LinkedIn's amazing. And, for brands, like, going to a brand that like you love and searching under, you go to the brand's page and you look under, people and employees and you find the people in the organization that you'd want to be connected to, like the creative director or the director of marketing, or even like the CEO or COO, depending on the size of the company, and sending them a note, or like even just saying something like, hi, I love your brand for this reason, would love to connect, or like, hi, I work with similar companies, would love to connect. Just like kind of starting to just like plant seeds. And then even if like they don't message you back, but if they connect with you, like if you're posting regularly, they're going to see your work, right? They're going to engage with you to some extent. So that's been really successful for me. Cold emails still work, people.
They can.
Like,
yeah.
They work real well.
Yeah.
Like, so, if you have a really good template and a really good value proposition and you can show that you're a nice, real human being, that's a great way to do it. And then like in person, like, now that we can start doing that stuff again, finding situations where your people are going to be. So whether that's paying for a community that does like in-person events, or going on to like Eventbrite or meetups and seeing like if there are any like sort of like, if Lululemon is hosting a, brunch workout event, or like you just never know who you're going to meet, right? So you kind of have to like put yourself in situations to meet people and like have a good time while you're doing it, and always have business cards on you. The business card is not dead. No matter what.
You heard it here first. The business card is not dead. I got stuck on the word brunch a little bit. My pregnancy is like food.
I went to an event on Monday and I handed out a business card to everyone there. And half of the people in the room didn't have a card. And I'm like, well, like, that's fine. But like, I wish you did, because like, I would have kept it and I would have been able to find you easier. So
it's true. And then you're not like in front of them with your phone. You're like, what is your account? Like, oh, how do I spell am I taking your number? Or am I just like...
Totally. I know. It's like so annoying. So bring a card.
Get in, get out. Bloop.
Exactly.
What about you, Christian? What's
Yeah.
been most successful for you so far?
Cold emails are really successful for me and have been in the past, but not like if you're copy and pasting the same message to every person, you're not getting answers for sure. And when I'm sending an email, like Marika was saying, to somebody or like to a new brand or to whatever, finding the actual person behind it is really important. And then offering them something like, hey, I shot this project that I think is really in line with the stuff that you guys release in your brand and like the images you guys use. And I think there might be an opportunity to work together somewhere down the line. I'd love for you to check it out and just like leave it at that. You're offering them something that's actually relevant to them, not like sending photos of hockey players or something to Lululemon because they don't care about that. And they get so many messages like that.
Yeah.
In person, I actually am on the other side of the business card argument.
I love the debate.
On your phone or something.
What's that?
You got like a QR code on your phone that people can scan or something?
Oh,
no, I
one.
participated in this beta thing. Some guy was making this product on LinkedIn in Vancouver, and it's like an RFID thing, and he gave us these metal cards, and you just like tap it to the phone, and then you're in their contacts, which I don't think is that valuable because I don't know half the people in my contacts. Like I don't know how those people got there.
Yeah.
Totally.
But yeah. Anyways, I haven't handed out a business card in ages for whatever reason.
So how do you do it?
A lot of the connections I make are like once you start to know, like in Vancouver, for me, there's only so many people in production, and you see the same people on each set. And if you can get into that kind of world and make yourself known to those people, all of a sudden your name is one of the names that they pass around to other people when they're asking, and you have like friendship level relationships versus exclusively professional. That's been really valuable for me. And then like I'm in Squamish, which is a little tiny weird town between Whistler and Vancouver, and like 7/8 of the people that live here are in production. There's like only camera people here for whatever reason, and just like going out for beers or for coffee or whatever with those people and actually having a real conversation and showing that you are not just a person who can push a button, but like you're kind of a cool person to have on set. Hopefully they think that. That's really valuable as well.
So what about you're doing like you're cold, now it's COVID. You don't have like, it's hard to get to that friendship level, hanging out in person, getting to know someone, or like, because I think Christian, you also agreed with Marika, like you're at the stage in your business where you were like shooting a lot of maybe like smaller budget, smaller budget for commercial. And now you're aiming for the bigger guys, but you're in kind of like that transition. So you're in the middle here and you're transitioning. So what is your strategy for reaching that larger market or like that next level? You don't have to have the perfect answer because I feel like we're all trying to figure it out.
Yeah, totally. I don't know. I think the personal work I've been doing is like, I just shot this series called the Maker series, and it's like very environmental portraiture based. And I was playing a lot with lighting that I typically don't play with. I shot so much natural light for years because I'm doing stuff like super run and gun speed in the mountains, and it doesn't really work with a big production kit. But bridging, like extending my portfolio into something new and then sending it to people that I think should see that, bigger brands and things like that. I think that's valuable. I feel like I'm just going on a tangent though.
No, it's tough. You know what? It's such a hard question to answer because, like I said, I think we're all trying to figure it out in this new world because it is different. It is new. It's not something that none of us have experienced before. Is a gigantic worldwide pandemic. So I think go ahead, Marika.
Knowledge, Stacey. Like with the brand, be honest, and like if you're trying to network with someone, say like, this is like a weird time. Like that's what like I would do is like I would DM a brand and be like, you know, we're all in a super weird situation right now. Like, I'm sure you guys like still need content as you're growing your business and you're trying to get through this season. Is there a good email address for someone to connect with, you know, further on this? And like, even some, I don't know, we didn't really offer, I mean, we tried to offer like some deals or like, but it's just hard with a service-based business to like offer discounts because like the work is already underpriced half the time, right? But like trying to find creative ways to like give them more value or say like, you know, here's like, we understand you're in a tight position too. Like we can do this X, Y, Z in this for you. We can add in an extra video or like, you know, we can do above and beyond, move heaven and earth for you kind of energy, right? Like to let the brand know that they'd still be taken care of because they're struggling too. Like, you know, I think we're all trying to like get money from everybody else, which we need because we need to live and we need to pay our rent and we need to survive. But like, you know, again, like it's a human being on the other end of the screen and just like acknowledging the plight we've found ourselves in the last 18 months, I think is a good way to like start bridging the connection. Like I was finding my cell phone calls last year. Every call was like, we'd skip the pleasantries and just be like, how are you? You know, with like complete strangers that I'd never spoken to before. Like they were sharing personal life details with me because they were struggling too. And that formed like really awesome relationships and connections with, maybe we didn't do a ton of work together, but like, you know, they're in my network now and like we talk, or, you know, maybe we did do some work together and they've referred me since or something. You just never know. But being honest and communicating and acknowledging it, not trying to shove it under the rug, I think is important.
I think that's excellent advice. I would say for me, when I'm networking, even as Pepper, like in amongst in our industry and beyond, I would say a really good approach, even is to start small and you build up. So you're showing interest in that company. So like pick your 5 companies that you really want to work with or you want to connect with. And then of course, like follow them on social, sign up for their newsletter, engage, not just like and comment in the grid, but comment on stories because it ends up in the DMs. And people are going to pay attention way more to a DM and your name will stand out to them versus just in the grid. A grid, you're like, yeah, comment, recognize it. Maybe I do, maybe I don't. If I get a DM that people like constantly responding to stories, I'm like, oh yeah, they're like super engaged. They're watching, not just watching, but they're engaging with our stories or engaging with our polls. So if you're showing a company that you're already interested in them, that's number one, because you approach them cold. They're like, do you care about us? Are you really interested in what we're doing? And then we talked about even responding to a newsletter. So depending on the size of the company, that newsletter, if you respond to it, it'll probably end up in somebody's inbox.
It's true.
Even just like, I read this article that you guys included in your newsletter, and I just wanted to say how awesome it was. And like, these points stood out to me. And you're not asking them for anything. You're just validating what they're doing.
Yeah.
Something similar to that, like with bigger brands and like creative agencies and stuff like that, a lot of these people who are in decision making and leadership positions who are actually able to hire somebody like me, like their life isn't only within that box of that brand. They have their own website, they write their own content, they like write for a magazine or like have their own newsletter or shoot photos or whatever. And you can like, responding to a large brand's social media is probably landing in the inbox of somebody who controls their Instagram, who ultimately doesn't have their fingers in decision making any higher than that. But like dropping into somebody's inbox about their personal work that they do, people like that, and they don't hear the same thing every time. Like, oh my God, I love your leggings. I want to shoot for you for Lululemon.
Yeah.
It's like, I saw this photo series you did when you traveled to Peru and I really liked it.
Amazing.
You just like open up a real conversation with the person behind it. Yeah.
Because I think that's amazing. But I can also tell you, as being an owner of a company and having team members, if a team member comes to me and says, hey, you should check out this person, they've been really awesome, I trust my team member, and now they've already gained trust with me without even speaking to me.
For sure.
That's like getting on podcasts. So if you're on a podcast, let's say with, you don't want to be, because you're both photographers, you want to be targeting other photographers, you want to be targeting like brands, big companies, outdoor adventure. Like, where are those people that this person you just talked about having like writing for magazines. They did a really cool article. What are they listening to? And then trying to be on those podcasts and what you contribute to the conversation from the point of view of what type of service you're offering. So you get in front of so many more people like that by getting on a podcast. And all those people listening to that podcast already have trust with that podcast. And if that podcast has trust with you, you have trust with the audience. So there's one point there. And also you're networking with that podcast host. And that podcast host now has so many other connections that if they like you, that's when you get on that personal level, make that personal connection, like engage with them after the podcast. Don't just go on the podcast and never speak to them again. Be like, thanks, that was great. Have a nice life. Like, go back, like share their podcast episodes, send them DMs, like months later, be like, I love this episode you did, or like, hey, I saw you were doing this on, like you said, like personalized stuff. Like then that does build a relationship virtually, and that can get you so far. It's really worked well for Pepper.
That's awesome.
Those are my advice as well. But you guys, I'm going to say, I think we've covered so many good things. I want to keep talking about commercial photography because I'm getting really excited about it. If I were to shoot full time again, it would probably be in this genre, but I probably would not be good at it because I'm way too like, fly in, what's up? Like,
people like that though. People want to work with somebody who's excited to be there.
Yeah, but like the pre-plan, like when it comes to Pepper, I'm like obsessively A-type planning, and I love it so much, that side of the business. But when it came to my photography business, I was definitely like an in the moment person. So I feel like I probably would not excel at commercial photography.
Well,
you just find a producer.
Directors and producers. So you find someone to do it for you, and you show up and shoot, and you have a great time.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I will sign up for that. That would be my thing. So Adina says, I'd like to believe that the last year opened up a door for trailblazers to go down the path they could never have gone down before. So now we can change the structure of how we engage. It's scary, but at the same time, so needed. Just like we said, the commercial industry is so messed up. We have a voice. I'd like to believe we are supposed to be here. Find your people, take a breath, unplug so you can engage with value.
That's awesome.
I feel like that's a great ending. Is there anything else that you guys would like to share with our audience, or commercial photographers, or people that are interested in getting into commercial photography?
There was something, I wasn't live yet, that you guys talked about, just like the one thing you would tell people.
Yeah.
Just like the thing that has kept me going is just keep going, because it gets better every year. And like, it feels like tiny little shitty gains, and like you're kind of spinning your wheels. But if you keep going and you keep talking to the same people and keep networking and just keep going, the only thing that can make you fail is deciding to quit.
Good one.
Like, I send cold emails to 500 people a quarter, creative directors and producers and all sorts of people. And I have been emailing the same people. I got a reply from somebody that I've been emailing for 4 years a few weeks ago. And the guy was like, hey, sorry, I missed your other emails. I'd love to have you on a job. Like, yeah, there's 10 of them back there, but thanks.
4 years ago. You're like, yeah, dude.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Sorry, I was in the shower. Like,
that's actually amazing.
Yeah, so play the long game, keep going.
Yeah, it's definitely a numbers game, and it's annoying sometimes. It's like you feel like you've reached out to hundreds of people and not a single one responds. Like, it's very discouraging some days, but it's like, it just like, you have to kind of play the odds. Like, if, I think what are the odds? Like 10% or something like that of people you reach out to will respond. So like, you have to reach out to 200 people to get 20 emails back. And I've tested this theory. I spent a day once, I spent literally 8 straight hours. I don't think I got up once. I was like in the zone. I emailed like, 150 people or something like that. And I spent like, it wasn't all cookie cutter. Like, I spent time like researching different people, and some of them I was like, I don't care, I'll just copy paste, whatever. But anyway, 15 people responded, literally 10%. I didn't hear back from the other 135 or whatever it is.
Yeah.
So you have to play the
That's
game.
about my response rate too.
Yeah.
And then like, but realistically, if you're looking for big commercial jobs, if you were to get jobs from 10% of the people you were reaching out to, you would die. That's too much. You can handle on large commercial jobs, you can handle what, like 3 or 4 in a month is a very busy month.
It is, yeah.
So if you're dealing with 2 to 3% actual conversion rate on those cold email campaigns, fantastic.
You're killing it.
Great. It's great. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's like 20 or 30 or $40,000 in revenue a month. And
Exactly.
that, I mean,
not more depending on the project. And I think the thing is, like, I see a lot of photographers who feel guilt for not shooting enough. And I'm like, I'm just over here trying to figure out how to make the most amount of money for the least amount of work possible. So like, if you'll pay me to do one 40K shoot a month, like I'm here for it.
Yes.
Like, please.
Yeah.
You know,
that's the dream.
Like I used to do 3 shoots a day, like for 3 different clients. Like I was working and traveling, and I was nonstop. I was on a plane every other week. I don't even know what I was doing, but I literally had no life, and it was exhausting. It was awful. I'm like, I don't want to ever do that again.
That's how you burn out, big time.
I did burn out.
Me too. Doing the exact same thing.
But yeah, you do it because like you're hustling. Obviously, you're working with smaller clients and brands, so like you kind of have to have that volume in order to make a living. And but like, you know, there's just so much possibility when you like kind of take a step back and realize like you can make a lot of money in this industry. You don't have to be a starving artist, and you don't also have to gouge businesses for every dime they're worth either. Like there is a wonderful happy medium that exists to do amazing work and make an amazing living.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to end it there, you guys, because
we can chat all
night. I have a call here coming up, and also this very pregnant belly is about to explode.
Yes.
So, congratulations, Stacey. I haven't talked to you since I saw that.
Yeah. Isn't it crazy? We hit the 6-month mark.
Oh,
So
yay.
It is nuts. Life is wild and crazy, but we're so excited. We found out we're having a girl. So
nice.
Added to the Pepper crew.
Yes.
Christian, thank you so much for joining us like you did.
Yeah, sorry if I was sort of going off on weird tangents. I was obviously unprepared.
Awesome.
No, it was like honestly perfect. It is like Marika is all about this, and it's just a sharing of information and knowledge, supporting this industry, and it just makes us all better and more successful.
Yeah,
totally.
For sure.
So I appreciate you both.
Do it again sometime.
Fuck yes, let's do it again. Oh, I already have plans. I have a budding of an idea, so I'll be in touch.
Your eyes are brightening. Your mind is working.
Oh yeah, I just had like a little. So definitely, Christian will be in touch, and we'll do this again. Thank you guys so much. You're both amazing.
Thank you.
Great to meet you, Marika.
You too.
Cool. I'll talk to you guys later.
Soon.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye. I think we've stopped the live stream, and I'll stop recording.